Good morning, sir. So, first of all, I will introduce myself. Myself, Abhishek Pal. I am from BTech CSE Course Excel, and my university is almost 2014524. So, today my topic is security threats with CloudSafe. So, I will tell some of the major security threats with CloudSafe. Then I will explain them, and then I will conclude, and then I will tell some of the case studies also. So, we will start from index. So, first of all, I will introduce what is like security threats in cloud computing and etc. Then main security concerns. So, after that, I will tell what all are the security threats with CloudSafe. After that, some of the case studies, and then the conclusion. Yeah. So, we will start from introduction. So, yeah, just wait a minute. Yeah. So cloud computing is bombarded with immense benefits that includes availability, flexibility, ubiquity, access, and cost effectiveness. Security is also a paramount importance in this new era of on-demand cloud computing services. That means that while we are using the cloud computing services, we have to very focus, or we need to be very aware much about the security and all other things in those services like AWS. Or if we are not aware about them, then we will lose our data, or we can leak also. The hackers can breach it. So then we will see cloud computing offers its services to different kinds of users with the help of the World Wide Web on virtual platform regardless of devices. All the resources kept on the same shared storage device, which led to considerable rise and various security concerns for both user and their private information. Data privacy can be compromised with a broad usage of cloud, as smaller companies to bigger ones are adapting this versatile system. Yeah. So these are the main security concerns in cloud computing. So first one is data loss and data leakage, then data privacy or confidentiality, then accidental exposure of the credentials like identity and access management, then diminished customer trust and potential revenue loss. Yeah, so now we will discuss about some of the security threats in cloud. So first of all, like uh, elevated user access. So in that we can say that the risk in elevated user access is like any data processed outside the organization brings it an inherent level of risk, as outsourced services may bypass the physical, logical, and personal controls and will have elevated user access to such data. And customers should, and like so if this is the risk, then we can correct like customers should obtain as much as information as he can about the service provider who will be managing the data and IT controls over the access privilege. And then we will see the location of the data. So in that the risk is like the organization that are obtaining cloud computing services may not be aware from where the data is being hosted, or may not even know from which country it is being hosted. And we can correct them like organizations should ensure that the services provider is committed to obey local privacy requirements on behalf of the organization to store and process the data in the specific jurisdiction. So after that, it's the segregation of data. In this, the risk is like as the data will be stored under some stored environment, or we can say that the encryption mechanism or some user credentials that should be strong enough to segregate the data from one organizations to other organizations whose data are also under the same server. So, if this is the risk, then how can we correct it? Then we can correct like organizations should be aware of the arrangements made by the service provider about segregation of the data in case of encryption mechanism. The service provider should also display encryption schemes and testing of the mechanism by the expert. So, some more security threats in cloud SAP like recovery of data. So, in this the risk is like business continuity in case of any disaster, availability of the services, and without any description, application environment and IT infrastructure across multiple sites are vulnerable to a total failure. So we can correct like organizations should ensure the enforcement of contractual liability over the service provider about complete restoration of data within a stipulated time frame. Organizations should also be aware of business continuity, should also be aware of business continuity plan or disaster recovery plan established by the service provider. Then the information security violation reports. So in this, the risk is like due to complex IT environment and several customers logging in, logging out of the host, it becomes difficult to trace inappropriate or illegal activity. So, so we can correct it like organizations should enforce the contractual liability towards providing security violation logs at frequent intervals. So last one is long-term viability. In case of any major change in the cloud computing service provider, the service provider like acquisition, merger, partnership breakage. So in this, the service provider is at the stage. So we can correct like organizations should ensure getting their data in such getting their data in case of major events. So now we'll see some of the case studies. Yeah. So these are the things which I had already explained about them. Yeah. So we can read it from here, like of segregation data. So after that, this is the last like information security, then long-term liability. After that, we will see two case studies. Yeah, just a second. Yeah. So in this, we will see case study of account hijacking. So, yeah, this is so in this the account hijacking is thread under which malicious attackers gain access to a account credential which is highly sensitive information and that can cause compromise of the account. So in this case study, it has said that in May 2019, the Instagram has exploited its database without any user credentials, or we can say the Instagram, which owns 49 million users' data, left the database open without any password. They contain the picture, followers, contact information like email, mobile number, etc., etc., which releases online. And later, uh, a social media influencer marketing agency that pays social media influencer to post sponsored content. It contacted some random people whose data was in the database and confirmed their personally identifiable information. They were connected to Instagram accounts, investigated, and then the stolen data was dumped and reportedly out for sale via bitcoins. So this is the case study in which the Instagram of the data of the Instagram has been breached. We can see that it left open on the internet. Then we can say that the prevention of this data breach requires the cloud to have more flexible environment from development to runtime. So this method avoids the best security net principle of stripes benefit password that cannot be crackable would be best for access multiple factor authentication, regular key rotation, and a bunch of other key practices. So yeah, so we will see the next case study. Yeah, so um, yeah, so next case study was about the wireless local area network. In this the airline, yeah, there was airline, or we can say the cyber attack, like that kind of thing. In that hackers hacked the weak link in satellites equipment and and then in that the aircraft flying thousands of meters above him, and some of them were the commercial flight operated by the biggest airline in the world. Then they hacking the onboard systems, investigated Wi-Fi, and carried out surveillance on all passenger devices that are connected. Due to vulnerabilities in antennas that are sending the data to the modem, he was able to spy because it was very weak, and he turned the satellite communication kit into a radio frequency weapon. So this was about the wireless local area network in which the a hacker hacked the data of the satellites, and then uh, so that can be also useful for analyzing the incoming and outgoing traffic, and helps to decide whether to block traffic or allow based on some rules. Yeah. So this was the two case studies we had seen. Now we can conclude that cloud computing that can be seen as a new phenomenon. Yeah. New phenomenon is set to revolutionize the way we use the internet. Before working on cloud apps, one must be very careful to understand the security risks and challenges. Users should check the security measures like encryption, firewall, access controls. When working on cloud apps, they should check is there any additional security measures to improve visibility and control over the data in the cloud. Okay, so thank you.